This 40-step guide will help you determine the general condition of an aircraft. It is aimed primarily at buyers, but sellers will also benefit. Buying and owning an aircraft is a big financial undertaking. Whether you're buying an aircraft outright or buying into a group, owning an aircraft costs. The first question you should seriously ask yourself is, can I afford it? Everybody likes to pick up a bargain, but a relatively inexpensive aircraft may prove a false economy. It may be poorly maintained and hide costly repairs. Even a more expensive aircraft may hide something. Which is why a pre-purchase inspection is absolutely vital before making the final decision to purchase an aircraft. If you're considering a number of aircraft, however, this may prove a costly and time-consuming exercise. The following 40 steps will guide you through what to look for when evaluating the general condition of an aircraft, before committing to a more thorough pre-purchase inspection.
This guide examines the undercarriage, wings, tail assembly, cabin, engine, and the documentation. The aircraft shown here is a Cessna 172S. We begin with the main undercarriage legs. Check these legs for corrosion. Earlier aircraft featured a flat spring steel main gear. 1972 saw the introduction of the improved tubular strut landing gear. From the front of the aircraft, ensure that the aircraft is sitting level and that the legs look symmetrical to the wings and fuselage. If the aircraft is not symmetrical, this may indicate a weak leg spring or heavy landing. The torque links maintain correct nose wheel alignment. Look for wear in the torque links by moving the center point of the two links from side to side and observing any movement in the links. At the same time, look for play in the steering collar and chimney dampener fittings. Check the tyres for wear. Make sure there are no bald patches or bumpy areas. Uneven tyre wear indicates mistracking or excessive play in the nose torque links. An oleo-pneumatic unit is attached to absorb any forces and dampen any oscillations. This is charged with hydraulic oil and nitrogen. Check for oil leaks. If there is any corrosion on the oleo piston, it will tear the O-ring seals in the leg as the piston moves up and down, and then oil and nitrogen will leak out. Ensure that the nose gear fork is symmetrical to the strut and wheel assembly. A bent fork may indicate a heavy landing. Also ensure the fork hasn't kicked back. Look for damage on the wheel spats. Ensure there are no cracks. Mud and stones can pick up in the tyres and tear the scraper away from the bottom of the spat, so examine the scraper. Look for ripples in the skin around the undercarriage leg. Ensure there are no loose rivets or streaking marks. Ripples in the skin indicate a heavy landing. Check for play in the elevator bearings, which are located here. Gently rock the elevator back and forth and side to side. There is hardly play in these bearings. Check for excessive play in the trim tab hinge. As you pull the tab up and down, this rod will move in and out if the actuator assembly is worn. Examine the rudder bearings, which are located here. Gently move the rudder, checking for play in the rudder bearings. Check that the trailing edge of the rudder is straight and symmetrical to the airframe when the rudder weight is aligned with the fin. From the rear of the aircraft with the flaps up, look at the gap between the wing shrouds and the flaps. This should be symmetrical. Check the flat push rod ends for freedom of movement by rotating the rod from side to side. The flap tracks are located here and here. When the flaps are up during flight, the flap rollers vibrate and wear up the flap's track ends, so examine the flap track ends for wear. Also examine the flap rollers for corrosion. The rollers naturally wear into the flap support arms over time, so examine the arms for wear. Check the flap trailing edge around the rivet heads and tails for small cracks. Check the aileron hinges for cracks. Ensure that the hinge pins are locked in. In later types, the pin is locked under the hinge screw, as in this aircraft. In earlier types, the hinge is a split pin. Ensure for freedom of movement in the aileron push rod ends. Move and rotate the push rod to ensure that it is not seized. Check flap, aileron, rudder and elevator surface controls for loose rivets and black streaky marks. Examine the skin for streaky marks, which indicates that the skin is loose somewhere. Look for any differences in the skin panel patterns on one side of the aircraft to the other, as this may indicate a repair. The fuel tank drains are located under each wing. Examine each drain for signs of leakage. Examine each fuel cap's locking lugs for excessive wear. Grab hold of the doors and move them up and down. There should be little or no play. Check the door hinges for cracks and broken hinge pins.